In the history of Rome, there are names that have withstood the test of time: Julius Caesar, Pompey the Great, and Augustus. But there is one figure whose story often gets overlooked, despite his vast wealth, influence, and tragic end. His name? Marcus Licinius Crassus. Crassus is often remembered as the richest man in Rome. His fortune was legendary, but it was not just his wealth that defined him. It was his ambition that would drive him to seek military glory, political power, and ultimately, his doom. In this video, we will delve into the tragic story of Crassus, how he rose to prominence, forged political alliances that would change Rome's future, made strategic errors, and eventually faced the fatal consequences of overreaching. Stay with us as we uncover the life of a man who, despite his riches and power, could not escape the forces of fate. Chapter 1: Early Life and the Political Landscape of Rome. Crassus was born around 115 BCE into the Licini family, one of the oldest and most prestigious patrician families in Rome. Though the Licini family had ancient roots in Roman history, they were not particularly wealthy or influential when Crassus was born. In fact, Crassus's early life was marked by hardship, as his family had fallen out of favor during the Social War, 91 to 88 BCE, a bloody conflict between Rome and its Italian allies who sought citizenship. His father, Marcus Licinius Crassus, had been consul in 97 BCE but was killed during the Social War. With his father's untimely death, Crassus grew up with the lingering shadow of his family's former glory. As a young man, Crassus felt the loss deeply. His family's wealth and political status had been shattered, and Crassus harbored the burning desire to restore his name to greatness. The late Roman Republic was a period of intense political and social upheaval. Rome, while a republic, was constantly at war, fighting external enemies, suppressing uprisings, and dealing with internal corruption. The Social War was just one of many conflicts that would shape the future of the Roman state. This chaotic backdrop would form the foundation upon which Crassus would rise. It was not only his desire to restore his family's honor that motivated Crassus, but also the very real political landscape of the time. Rome was in turmoil, and those with money, military power, and political savvy could exploit the chaos to achieve personal glory. At a young age, Crassus displayed a shrewdness and drive that would come to define his life. He understood that wealth was the key to power in Rome, so he turned to business to rebuild his family's fortune. His earliest ventures were in real estate, but Crassus quickly made his fortune in an unlikely business: firefighting. Rome, like most ancient cities, was prone to fires. Buildings were often made of wood, and with a growing population, fires were frequent and destructive. Crassus set up a private fire brigade, one of the first in Rome, and he would offer to buy up burning buildings at a fraction of their value. Once the fires had been extinguished, he would rebuild the properties and sell them for a substantial profit. This ruthless, opportunistic behavior helped Crassus accumulate immense wealth. However, his wealth wasn't just built on business. It was also a result of his political acumen and his ability to manipulate the system. Crassus would soon realize that wealth alone was not enough. He needed political power. Chapter 2: The Rise to Power, Building Influence in the Senate. By the time Crassus reached his 30s, he had accumulated enough wealth to enter the political arena. In Rome, political positions were often won with vast sums of money, and Crassus quickly understood that wealth could be leveraged to buy political influence. His early political career was marked by his ability to align himself with the right people. Though he was initially an outsider in the Senate, Crassus built connections with key senators and started supporting political candidates with his wealth, ensuring that he had allies when it mattered most. But Crassus's real ambition lay beyond merely securing political office for himself. He sought influence at the highest levels of Rome's government. And to achieve that, he would need a different kind of alliance, a military alliance. Despite his wealth, Crassus was still perceived as lacking military glory. He had never led legions into battle like his contemporary Pompey, who had enjoyed significant victories in the East, or Gaius Marius, who had reformed the Roman army. But Crassus, aware of the importance of military success in Roman politics, yearned to achieve the same kind of prestige. His first major military venture came in 1973 BCE, during the Third Servile War, more commonly known as the Spartacus Revolt, when a gladiator named Spartacus led a massive slave rebellion in Italy. Crassus was appointed to lead the Roman forces against the rebels, and this campaign would come to define his early military career. The Spartacus Revolt began as a small uprising of gladiators but quickly grew into a full-fledged rebellion. Spartacus's army of slaves and runaway gladiators ravaged the Italian countryside, and Crassus was given command of the Roman legions to suppress the revolt. Crassus's response was swift and ruthless. He put down the rebellion with brutal force, crucifying 6,000 captured slaves along the Appian Way as a warning to other would-be rebels. While this earned him some respect as a military leader, it was his rival, Pompey, who arrived after the rebellion had been quelled to claim credit for the victory, further fueling tensions between the two. This rivalry would lay the foundation for Crassus's decision to enter into a political alliance with Pompey, an alliance that would eventually bring him into the orbit of one of Rome's most charismatic and dangerous figures, Julius Caesar. Chapter 3. The First Triumvirate, Crassus, Pompey, and Caesar. By 60 BCE, Crassus, Pompey, and Caesar formed a political alliance, the First Triumvirate, in order to consolidate their power and influence in the Senate. Each man brought something to the table. Pompey had military glory, Caesar had the support of the people, and Crassus had wealth and political connections. However, the triumvirate was fragile. Crassus was always in the shadow of Pompey, whose military achievements were unparalleled, and Caesar, whose populist appeal was growing rapidly. Crassus, who had sought military glory, was frustrated with his lack of recognition compared to his two colleagues. While the alliance helped Crassus achieve political influence, his growing envy and need for recognition would eventually lead to tensions, especially with Pompey. While Caesar was building his political career in Rome, Crassus became increasingly resentful of Pompey's military acclaim. Pompey's return from the East, after a series of successful campaigns, gave him unprecedented glory in Rome. Crassus, who had always been known for his wealth, now desired the military recognition that Pompey enjoyed. This rivalry came to a head when Crassus attempted to challenge Pompey's military dominance, especially regarding the control of the eastern provinces. However, Crassus would find that achieving military success would not be as simple as raising a few legions. Chapter 4. Crassus's fatal decision, the Parthian Campaign. By the 50s BCE, Crassus's desperation for military glory reached its peak. While Pompey had dominated the Eastern Front and Caesar had achieved fame in Gaul, Crassus saw the Parthian Empire as his opportunity to prove himself as a great general. The Parthians were a powerful empire to the east of Rome, and Crassus was determined to lead an invasion. Crassus's decision to invade Parthia was fueled by more than just ambition. It was also motivated by personal vanity. He believed that defeating the Parthians would make him a hero in the eyes of the Roman people and elevate him to the same status as Pompey. The campaign began in 1953 BCE, and Crassus, eager for glory, made critical strategic mistakes. His army of 35,000 men marched into Parthian territory, but they were ill-prepared for the harsh conditions and the Parthian military tactics. Crassus underestimated the Parthian cavalry, which was renowned for its heavy cavalry, especially the cataphracts, armored cavalry that could outmaneuver Roman legions. His forces were trapped and destroyed at the Battle of Carrhae, a devastating defeat for Rome. After the crushing defeat at Carrhae, Crassus was forced to flee. His army was decimated, and Crassus himself was captured by the Parthians. The tragic irony of Crassus's end was that he had sought military glory, only to meet a humiliating and brutal death. Legend has it that Crassus was executed in a barbaric manner. Melted gold was poured down his throat as a mockery of his legendary greed. Whether this gruesome tale is true or not, it symbolized the ultimate price that Crassus paid for his unchecked ambition. Chapter 5. The Aftermath and Legacy. Crassus's death left a vacuum in the Roman political landscape. With his demise, the fragile First Triumvirate fell apart. Pompey and Caesar, once allies, soon found themselves in direct conflict. The political chaos that ensued eventually led to the collapse of the Roman Republic and the rise of Caesar as the dictator of Rome. Crassus's legacy is a complex one. He was undoubtedly one of the wealthiest men in Roman history, but his tragic end serves as a cautionary tale. His ambition for military glory ultimately led to his downfall, and his failure in the Parthian campaign marked the end of an era in Rome's political landscape. Crassus's life is a reminder that wealth and power alone cannot guarantee success. It is ambition, hubris, and the ability to balance personal desires with strategic thinking that determine a leader's fate. Crassus was a man of contradictions, a genius in business, a master of political intrigue, yet a tragic figure whose ambition led him to his untimely death. His story is not only about the rise and fall of a man, but a reflection of the broader political instability that plagued the Roman Republic. Thank you for watching this in-depth exploration of the tragic story of Crassus. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below with your thoughts on Crassus's legacy. Do you think his downfall was inevitable? Or could Crassus have avoided such a tragic fate? Let us know your thoughts, and stay tuned for more historical deep dives on our channel.